Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome back. It's fall. It's time for community conversations. For those of you perhaps not familiar, if this is your first time here, my name is Courtney Shaw. I'm the facilitator of the series, but you don't have to listen to me the whole time. I just do the introductions. And I want to let you know also we have schedules on the back tables there where there's a little flyer that's got our full series for this. And you can either come in person here at HSB 101 at 11:30, or you can watch it on Zoom, or we record and put it up on the LCC YouTube channel later on. So lots of ways to watch it and also share with your friends. So today I'm very pleased to welcome a new speaker to our series, somebody from outside the campus, going to give us a little bit more insight here. Gillis Williams is a 25-year-old autistic self-advocate whose mission is to spread education and inclusiveness in autism and neurodiversity communities. He started autistic self-advocacy right out of high school, doing in-person speaking engagements and collaborating with autism organizations on social media. Thank you to the Student Programs Office, DEI, and DAS offices for teaming up to help us bring Gillis here to LCC. So please welcome GW.
Thank you. How are you guys doing today? Good. Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me today. I think that it's very important to have conversations like this, especially with the topic I'm talking about, my autism diagnosis, my journey. I'm 25 years old. I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 5. I'm originally from the Phoenix area in Arizona. Raise your hand if you're maybe familiar with the city of Chandler. Anybody? Okay, a couple of you are. I'm specifically born and raised in Chandler, but it's in the greater Phoenix area. But I just say Phoenix here up in the Pacific Northwest because nobody knows where Chandler is in Longview, Washington, or at least most people don't. But I'm from the greater Phoenix area. When I was diagnosed with autism, my parents agreed not to raise me any differently than my older brothers and sisters. I am the youngest of 4 siblings, and my parents thought that my autism was unique and different, but that didn't mean I was abnormal or strange or just a complete fish out of water. They knew that it was my superpower. They knew that it was going to be my strength. My dad always said that I was put on this earth for a reason, but he wasn't quite sure. He didn't quite know what it was at the time when I was born. I'd say, in a way, I don't even know what it is still now. Maybe it's this advocacy thing. Maybe it's my social media. Maybe it's just the greater, broader initiative of spreading not only awareness, but acceptance in the autism community. Whatever it is, I'm still figuring it out every single day. And we are going to get into the social media and my journey and what I'm doing. And hopefully it sparks some good conversations and questions for you guys at the end. So, before I get actually started into the story, I just want to get our creative juices flowing. I want us to answer some of these questions here. These are just some questions and conversation starters. That way, I'm not just simply just talking and talking, but you guys are also getting involved in the conversation. So, let's start with the first question. What are some autism stereotypes? I'll call on 1 or 2 people. Can anybody raise their hand? Yes. Yes, that's a good one. A lack of focus, the mind scattered. Some autistic people have this issue, but not all of us. I had this issue when I was younger, but it's since improved. And remember, the spectrum is broad, and not all autistic people are the same. With that said, not all autistic people have a lack of focus or understanding of certain topics. Let's go to the next one. What is masking? Anybody? Let me call on one person. What is masking? Yes. Yeah, that's the right idea. So kind of like let's focus on like putting and feeling and thinking. We call social behavioral traits that are constant and repetitive. We call that stimming. So stimming is basically repetitive or social behavioral movements that are just constant on repeat, and you see it a lot with autistic people, even those with ADHD. When we mask, for instance, masking is when we don't show it out in public. So right now, I'm not stimming, I'm not flapping my hands or walking back and forth in circles. And we'll get into stimming a little bit more when I talk about my journey in just a minute. But basically, masking is where I don't flap my hands in public. Honestly, I don't know why I start masking. I can't control it. I think just my autistic brain says, okay, GW, when you're out in public, it's time to turn it off. You're not stimming or walking back and forth in circles or shouting crazy noises or any other thing that I do when I'm stimming. But whenever I'm alone, I'll do it. Not as much as I used to, but I still do it to cope with stress or anxiety or stuff like that. Let's go to the third question. It's a big one. What causes autism? Yeah. Genetics. It's believed that genetics cause autism, but that's mostly the scientific consensus. In reality, we don't know what causes autism. Will we know? We don't know, but it's something that I'm hoping that we find the answer for. But at the same time, it doesn't matter for me if we find the answer in my lifetime or we don't. I'm proud to be an autistic self advocate, and it makes me strong and powerful because of it. But I am hoping we find the answer at some point. And lastly, what are some autism related misconceptions? Let me call on one person. One more person. What are some autism related misconceptions? Exactly. People struggle to socialize, or those with autism struggle to socialize in more social settings. And again, this is kind of like following along the lines with the first question with stereotypes. It's like some autistic people may have that, but not all of us do. Remember, it's a broad spectrum. I'm different, and other autistic people are different. And even, for example, not to go off topic, but I have lower support needs as a high functioning autistic person, but lower functioning people may have higher support needs. So again, it's a broader spectrum. So who am I, and why in the world did I get into autistic self advocacy? Well, going back to when I was 5 years old, that's when I was diagnosed, and I faced a lot of challenges when I was, in grade school, even throughout middle school and high school. I went to, grade, middle, and high school in Arizona, and I even went to community college there. And throughout this time, I faced bullies, I faced constant challenges, people that were either biased or not understanding or not very educated on autism or neurodiversity. And that's where we kind of start with my childhood. The very left picture, you probably guessed it, but that is me when I was born. That was the very first picture of me. That was July 11th, 2000. I don't know if anyone was born in July here, but it's a great month. Nobody? Nobody's born in July? What day? The second, July 11th. So I think our zodiac signs, we're both cancers, right? Yeah, okay. But hey, July is a great day, great month to have a birthday. So I was born July 11th, 2000. And right here in the middle, that was when I was in kindergarten. I think that was taken when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And then the picture on the right was kind of like towards the end of my childhood, right when I started the teen years or preteen years, however you want to call it. This was during my 12th birthday. And yeah, I had a really delicious Oreo cookie cake that day, as you could see. But anyway, when I was diagnosed, like I said earlier, my parents agreed not to raise me any differently from my brothers and sisters. However, they were also concerned and were scared of how I was going to make it in the world. They would spend days and nights, in their bed, holding each other and crying, wondering how I was going to make it in the real world. And when they mean the real world, they're talking about, when I turn 18, move out of the house, or potentially move out of the house and start doing more adult things like having my own job, having my own finances, stuff like that. They were worried that I wouldn't be able to do that or comprehend any of that when I got older. And they weren't saying that discouraging me from doing that. They were just fearful. Because again, this was 20 years ago. This was in the mid 2000s when autism had still been around for a while, or at least just the term and the diagnosis, but the just the idea of it to a lot of people hadn't really existed yet, or hadn't really caught people's attention like it does now. There wasn't enough education, in other words. So they were very concerned, and they read a lot of research saying that most autistic people would have little to no chance of succeeding. Luckily, I've been able to defy the odds of that, and I see a lot of other autistic advocates defying the odds. But going back to when I was younger, I was able to get a first place trophy in sparring, twice actually in karate, a first place trophy in sparring as a black belt in martial arts. I got my black belt in particular when I was 16 years old. It was March 4th, 2017. It's going to be, see if the There we go. Now it's working. Right over here on the right, I got my first degree black belt in martial arts. It was Saturday, March 4th, 2017. And right here is when I graduated high school. That is one of my teachers right here, who I'm still great friends with to this day. We still keep in touch. And he was one of my radio broadcasting teachers, which is what I later got my degree in. And then on the left, I just kind of put that for fun. That was during my junior year homecoming dance at the beginning of my junior year of high school. My older brother took that when he took me to the dance later that night. But all this here, from my childhood all the way to the teen years, encompasses not only the challenges I faced with the bullies and stimming and maybe like flapping my hands and walking back and forth in circles and dealing with students and my peers that didn't understand that and wanted to bully me because of it, but it also encompasses all the accomplishments and obstacles I overcome, all those obstacles that I got over because of all the drawbacks. A couple other of my accomplishments included winning an outstanding soloist award on the tenor saxophone, and just as a couple years ago, graduating from WSU. Raise your hand if you're a Wazoo fan in here or went to Wazoo. Go Cougs! When did you graduate? 2005, just graduated 3 years ago. Now, raise your hand, nervous to say this because we have a big rivalry. Who's a UW fan in here or a U of O fan? UW or U of O? I see you raise your hand. Oh, a couple of them? All right, you guys aren't welcome. No, I'm just kidding. It's a good rivalry. It's all fun. It's all jokes. But yeah, I went to Wazoo. I got my degree in broadcast news and production, and then I got a job in Eugene, Oregon, as a TV producer or an on-air producer for a station out in the Eugene area for the local ABC station. But now I'm on to bigger and better things. I've since left the broadcast news industry. Long story short, realized it wasn't for me, and I wanted to kind of go forward and move on to bigger and better things, like my advocacy venture, which I've been doing since high school. And that's when, oh, there we go. And that's when this was born. That was a bad segue, but that's the remote's fault, not mine. Autism is lit and Rhythm with the Tism. Two great brands all in one shop. And they're not just words on a t-shirt or a hat. It is a message. So I started this brand when I was 22, so just a couple years ago. And I started it initially with my roommate. We were just jotting down random ideas, and I thought of putting the t-shirt ideas onto like a merch line. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll just kind of like throw this down and everything, and I don't know if it's going to take off or something like that. But then, long story short, once I started vending, started selling them online, I realized how powerful and strong people love this movement, not only just online on my shop, but in the small community of Eugene where I live, right in the Midwest Oregon, if you want to call it. And it got so big that I'm proudly partnered with David from Love on the Spectrum US. Raise your hand if you've seen the show or have watched the show before. Love on the Spectrum. Okay, a couple of you have. So Love on the Spectrum is a really popular show. It's on Netflix. It's been on for 3 seasons. They're filming the 4th season right now. And it's basically a reality dating show where autistic individuals, both low functioning and high functioning on all vast areas of the spectrum, are going out and looking for love and going on dates for the first time and maybe starting short-term or long-term relationships for the first time. So David is one of the cast members on the show. I reached out to him. He got back to me saying that he wanted to collaborate with my t-shirt idea. And here's the video that we recorded.
Thank you, Autism chose me for the one jacket and 2 shirts. If you want to get a jacket like mine, go to Autism chose me on Etsy. By sharing my story, I want people to feel accepted and understood. Glad that the people who out there who wants to learn about my colors as numbers, it feels good for everyone to learn about my autism. Autism is lit.
Autism is lit. Raise your hand if you agree. Autism is lit. And autism is lit doesn't just mean autism is just like, lit doesn't mean like you're on fire or you're burning something. That's, keeping it very literal. Autism is lit means it's fun, it's positive, it's exciting, it's emotionally impactful. And those are not only the goals, but also the principles that I want for my business and I also want for my self advocacy venture. And it got even bigger that it was seen on TV just earlier this year. So let's look at the small news story that was done. Oh, let's see. I think we may have to go over and click on the actual story. Yep, there we go.
Well, the future of TikTok, it remains uncertain for Americans. A second extension to the ban now in place after a deadline lapsed this past weekend.
Local influencer and autism awareness advocate Gillis says while the ban is scary, it won't halt the message he's aiming to share. ABL's Billy Spots met up with him to learn more about how he's taking his online message to the streets.
Bye. Autistic. Oh, yeah.
Autism is not a disease. It's not something where you're dysfunctional or you have serious issues with yourself that need to be fixed or cured. It's a disability. It's my superpower.
What decade was the first case of autism diagnosed?
Gillis Williams started his social media journey in a dorm room at Washington State University, posting on TikTok about his experience with autism and the struggles he faced growing up. Over time, his account exploded, amassing over 200,000 followers. Popularity he turned into speaking engagements and more.
Speaking engagements are fun, and that's like the main component of my business, but that shouldn't be the only component of my business.
He started a merch line called Autism is Lit, selling t-shirts, hats, and hoodies in downtown Eugene. But while his business grew, the future of TikTok became uncertain, with a ban hanging over the platform's head for months.
Years prior to it even being discussed, I wanted to grow my Instagram because I'm like, okay, my TikTok's good. It's got all these hundreds of thousands of followers. Now I need to have a backup plan and have multiple streams of or multiple forms of good content.
On April 2nd, World Autism Awareness Day, Williams' Instagram account crossed 10K followers.
That is a sign. That means that there are great things happening with my business. And there are a lot of people who are supporting me.
Starting next week, Williams will tour around Oregon, speaking at schools promoting his Autism Shows Me message. It's a message of self-acceptance, embracing your uniqueness, and challenges of success.
Again, I'm Black and autistic. I accept that. I'm Black and autistic. I'm strong because of it.
Reporting in Eugene, I'm Billy Spots.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I wish the news story could make it 5 or 6 minutes long because there's a lot with my business and a lot with my journey. Unfortunately, in the world of news and, knowing this, having a broadcast news degree, they like to give news and a story on TV or radio in 2 to 3 quick minute segments. But fortunately for you guys, since you guys are here, I get to go into a little bit more detail on my history of my business and my advocacy venture and how I really blew up my account to hundreds of thousands of great followers who love and want to hear autistic voices like me. So I started my business when I was 18, right out of high school. I got the idea to start my business when it was during my first semester of college at a community college down in Arizona. One of my teachers, who is now my attorney, because he's also an attorney in real life, strongly suggested me after that semester, after the class was over, to get an attorney for starting a business. And he, more importantly, and my dad kind of piggybacked on his statement after I talked to my teacher. He said to find and discover or create a business idea, basically, that changes the world, that, to better borrow a phrase, makes the pin drop. And when I mean make the pin drop, I mean a business idea that moves people and is emotionally impactful, kind of like what I was saying earlier. So in a dream, just randomly while I was sleeping, it was the day prior or the week prior, I was stressing to come up with business ideas. And then the title, the logo, boom, Autism Chose Me was born. It came to me in a dream. I immediately woke up in the middle of the night and I said to myself, wow, I got to get that business idea on paper. But then I wondered, what should my business be about? It's not just a business. It should be a movement, and it should be my image because I'm an autistic self-advocate. So then I decided to start speaking to schools in my area. I slowly started going to schools, speaking about my autism journey, talking about my challenges, talking about how I overcame them, how other schools have been able to adopt certain initiatives to help other autistic individuals or autistic adults like myself either find education at a good school or find work when they turn 16. So I spoke about all of that, and I was able to collaborate and talk to a lot of schools in my area. But I wasn't on social media a lot. And I realized I wanted to get more on social media because it's not just about speaking in person like I'm doing now, but it's also about spreading awareness and acceptance to the masses, to everybody who's out there, clicking and viewing certain autism facts and autism information. So then when I got into TikTok, this was in the middle of COVID, or at least during the early part of it, during my junior year of college, this is my second semester, spring of 2021. I initially got TikTok just as a joke. I mean, I don't even think my username at the time was Autism Chose Me. It was like gdub.xl. It was something very like silly and ridiculous just to connect with friends and watch some videos. But then all of that changed a couple weeks later when I started seeing autistic self advocates who were just like me posting different, not really, I would say, trends, but really deep and hard facts about autism and, current, what's the word I'm looking for? Current trends and movements in the autism community, like the Red Instead or Light It Up Blue movements that I didn't even know anything about. Or maybe I know a little bit about it, but I didn't know as much as I did prior to watching those videos from these advocates. So then I said to myself, hey, I mean, what the heck? I'm an autistic advocate. I want to get involved in the conversation too. I want to share my own points of view. Hence, posting a lot of videos, posting like several times a day, and then just evolving and growing from that. And then 4 years, 200,000 followers later, my TikTok advocacy journey has taken off and has become one of my main components of my business as far as speaking, and has become a big component of my journey. And then, as they said in the news story, now that news story was filmed like back in April, so it's 6 months old, but I still like to show it because it's still mostly relevant for the most part with my t-shirt line and my advocacy journey. They said in the news story that I just surpassed 10,000 followers. I have now surpassed 16,000 followers just a few days ago, and my business is moving so fast with my Instagram. I wanted to post more on Instagram because my TikTok was taking off. And then I realized, you know what? There's a big audience on Instagram. There are a lot of self-advocates on there too. I wanted to create something diverse, something that was not only inclusive, but very fun, engaging, and very respectful and very awareing, and I'm using big words here because I love talking about this. Very impactful to the audience on Instagram. So I started posting a lot more on Instagram, and I started to get more diverse with what I was posting, whether it's stimming videos or talking about my journey or posting something funny and corny, maybe talking about how I'm a Black autistic person. It's part of me and part of who I am. And then again, that's starting to blow up too. And I like to show a video montage wherever I go, whether it's to the adults, whether it's to the kids. I think it's really fun. And hopefully with this 2 to 3 minute video segment, you can see what my personality is and the mission that I like to post on social media. So let's look at the tape.
You are a good-looking Black man. Send this to a good-looking Black man, or send it to their friends or accomplices. You are Black, and you are good-looking. And you know something? That's a good thing, because Black don't crack. And those are the principles that you should and will live by. And that, in and of itself, beats a Jet 2 holiday.
Black and autistic. Heck yeah, you're black and autistic. So you know what time it is. What time is it? It's time to get lit like an autistic. All right, then let's get it. Let's get lit. Let's get lit. Let's get lit like an autistic. 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 Now let's bring it around town. Oh yeah, bring it around town. Bring it around town. Bring it around town. And then we do a skibbity boppity 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 boppity
Stop it. No more autistic people. No, more autistic people. That's what I just said. No more autistic people. No, more autistic people. Hey, that's what I heard. Plus autistic equals lactistic. Canadian plus autistic equals canistic. Bollywood plus autistic equals ballistic. Jenna Ortega plus autistic equals Wednesday Addams. Adam Sandler plus ADHD equals Happy Gilmore. Autistic plus ADHD plus I show speed equals.
Hey, take your headphones off. No, take your headphones off. No, take your headphones off. No, I said take your headphones off. And I'm saying zippity doo dah. No, take them off. No, take them off. No, take them off. No, take them off. No. Okay, why would you take them off? Because I'm autistic and I need these headphones for hearing and sensory reasons. So why don't you just get to step in and quit cramping my style?
I have autism. Skibbity tism. I'm autistic. Skibbity tistic. You're an ableist. Skibbity toilet. Autism is lit. Skibbity tastic. Skibbity whoa. Skibbity what? Skibbity risen with the tisk. Skibbity risen with the tistic. Skibbity.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching that corny, fun 2 to 3 minute segment. And there's more on that on Autism Chose Me, and I can give you that information after the presentation. As you could probably guess, my voice doesn't get that high pitched when I'm actually filming my videos. I use a voice filter when I'm doing post-production on it. But I do that because, it engages people and gets their attention and gets a lot of views, even if it means educating people positively on autism. But my goals with my business overall are to be a leader for all autistic individuals, to put people with disabilities first, and more importantly, to have fun. I mean, guys, I've been doing this for several years. I mean, the 7th anniversary of my business comes up in December 19th. And it's just grown and branched in so many more ways than one. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so glad that I've strengthened my following, my platform on social media. I'm so glad that I'm able to speak to community colleges, to universities, to kindergartners and first graders and everybody like you guys and talk about my mission and talk about my goals. So yeah, not only am I putting people with disabilities first and being a leader for all autistic people, but yeah, I'm having fun doing this. And then my top 3 priorities when posting on social media, and this is something I've really tried to put a stamp on over the years, is to be responsible, be respectful, and be appropriate. So you guys can say it out loud. What do you think the opposite of responsible is? Irresponsible. What do you think the opposite of respectful is? And what's the opposite of appropriate? Inappropriate. Guys, I can't imagine a world of social media that would be better off where it was more irresponsible, disrespectful, and inappropriate. So I think it's always fun to post every now and then weird and fun content, but I want to keep it tasteful, that's positive and exciting and everybody can get involved and have a good time with. I've really tried to put that or stamp that onto my autism social media content creation the past few years, and I want to keep going and doing this. Yes, you had a question. Yeah. Yeah, so every now and then I may wear headphones. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I'm also trying to show that other autistic people may need headphones because of sensory issues. And that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. Basically, sensory issues, while I don't have this problem as much anymore, it's a problem that a lot of autistic individuals have. For instance, I just got back from visiting a friend over in London. She's also an autistic advocate, went over there for a week, and she has to, every now and then, wear headphones headphones, or maybe put a jacket or hoodie on as a sensory thing so she doesn't hear overwhelming loud noises either at the train station in London or even at like a big busy supermarket or store. So that's a good question. Thank you for throwing that in and asking it. All in all, my main business components are in-person vending, which is where I vend on the street corners of Eugene or anywhere in Oregon and Washington. And people come up, they buy my stuff or just have questions for me. I give them a business card. I talk about my life journey, my story. And then my social media content creation, as I was going through, posting on social media, having fun posting and posting quality stuff that, again, is responsible, respectful, and appropriate. And more importantly, can be shown to everybody, can be shown to the kids, and, you know, everyone can have a good time with. And then speaking engagements, just like what I'm doing now. This speaking engagement in particular, these two pictures, this was up in North Vancouver, BC. And I'm actually going back to British Columbia in a couple weeks to speak to an entire school district, to a mix of K through 12 school, to a mix of K through 12th graders. And this was to a group of 4th to 6th graders right here. So all in all, this is what I will leave you with. And again, as much as I want to, you know, talk more about my life journey, I mean, I wish I could be up here for 2 to 3 or 5 hours talking about my story, because I know you guys have a lot of questions for me. But of course, since this is just a quick community conversation, I try to condense it down for time, and I try to give you, you know, what's important. You know, as I explain with my news degree and being in news, one of the biggest things is when you're doing a news story is what do people need to know and want to know? And at the end of the day, will it give people good questions at the end? So what I'll leave you with is that there's a lot going on in the autism community, and you know, a lot positive, a lot negative. But regardless of where we're at in the autism community, I can assure you that I will be a leader for all autistic voices. I will be a leader for parents of autistic children, and more importantly, I will make sure to be my own biggest critic. If I'm doing something wrong and I don't feel comfortable doing something, or I realize that maybe one part of my advocacy thing is working out or isn't working out, I'm going to be very critical of myself and make sure that I improve on that aspect or make it better. A couple years ago, you know, for a quick example, I ended up posting something wrong. It was several years back, but I ended up losing a friend because of it. It's been my mission since then, again, to make sure my image is good, that I'm posting well. And again, when you have so many followers like I do, and I don't say that like to embellish or aggrandize or like show off or anything, I say that very sensitively and humbling, but when you have a lot of followers like I do, you have to make sure your image is good, and you have to make sure that you're putting out the best version of yourself. If I was putting out, for example, to you guys, the worst version of myself on social media or in person, that would look bad. That would look very bad for me. And that could be a chain reaction that would eventually make other people not want to collaborate or connect with me. So, all in all, in layman's terms, I want to leave you with that I'm a positive advocate. I'm spreading not only awareness, but acceptance in the autism community. And I'm hoping that when you guys leave today, that you understand that all autistic people are not all the same. Again, it's a broad spectrum. We are all different. We are all powerful, and we are all unique in our own ways. And then one last thing I like to do, again, I know we're all adults in here, and I'm rolling this out to kids this school year. I want to do the autism cheer. So everybody, you know, let's get out of our seats. Let's stand up for a second. Let's stretch a little bit. And then we're just going to practice this. Again, we're all adults in here, but I think no matter what age, we can do a little bit of cheer to get our blood flowing and our creative juices flowing here. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to set the mic down. So we're going to do, then when I say give me a G, you're going to go G, and then O, O, and then at the space, because there's a space between go and autism, I'm going to spread our legs and arms out of those space. Pause for a second, and then we're going to clap again. A-U-T-I-S-M. What's that spell? And then you guys yell, go autism. Has everyone kind of got the idea? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Give me a G. O, O, space. A, U, B, I, S, M. What's that spell? Go autism. Woo! All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out. Get in touch with me. This is my website right here, autismchoseme.com. You'll see a donate button if you want to donate to my business and cause. I have my Etsy shop online for my shirts and hoodies. And you can read more about my story and what I've experienced. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to pitch in. And yeah, I'd love to answer them.
I'll come around with the microphone if anybody has any questions so it gets picked up on the recording. Oh, coming around.
Thank you so much for the presentation today. One of my questions for you would be, how often do you see any issues with the intersectionality between autism and race as it relates to the provision of services?
When you say intersectionality, do you mean like the divide between services and autistic people in general?
Yes, services to autistic individuals who also have a relationship in racial background, sexuality, that intersectionality between the relationship between autism and sexuality, race, or what have you, gender.
Yeah, so I haven't seen much, and maybe it's just because of my own experiences, but I can give you the resources of people who have seen more of that intersectionality of the thing you're kind of talking about. One person, and she's a great lady. She's autistic and has two kids who are low functioning autism. Her name's Eileen Lamb, and she's a social media director for an autism organization. And she has seen that great intersectionality. I can give you her contact information later after this presentation. I'd say she is the better person to answer the question. And then there's another person. Her name is Rebecca Faith Quinn. Some of you may follow her. She's pretty popular. She's bigger than I am on social media, like on TikTok and Instagram specifically. She goes by the username, I think it's Ribera Bonbon. That's just like her silly little username. But Rebecca knows a lot about that intersectionality, and I think those two ladies would better answer your question. So, but thank you for asking it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How would you say that your parents, teachers, etc., best supported you as you were diagnosed and learning how to interact in schools or social settings or things like that?
Yeah, good question. So, the first thing they did, it was after kindergarten, they got me a teacher's aide. And the teacher's aide was basically not something that just like constantly watched me like a hawk and like followed my every movement. They would occasionally pull up a chair right by like the side of my desk, and they would help me with a class assignment, help me with a class project if we were doing like something like a cool little like workshop or project in class. They would help me with stuff like that. And then they also took me to occupational therapy and music therapy. Not ABA therapy. I know that's a very controversial thing, and they did research on that too, as far as like the most harmful therapies. So they decided on occupational and music therapy. They helped me, those therapies helped me with coping with like the stress and anxiety of being autistic, helped me control my stimming, and helped me do it at certain times that would, help me with, work and focus and concentrate on other aspects like maybe karate, like what I did, or like radio and stuff like that. So occupational and music therapy, those were some of the services that my parents and teachers implemented, as well as the teacher's aide thing. And then over time, I didn't need them anymore. I grew out of it, but during like grade school in particular, I needed those services.
Coming over.
I recognize and really support the need for intervention to assist the success of autistic students within the classroom. I'm a retired first grade teacher. I taught for 40 years. My question is, at the same time, are we addressing the other 24 or whatever number in the classroom to be tolerant, accepting, understanding, and addressing that aspect of our population to embrace the autistic population with the consideration and love they deserve?
Yeah. Well, thank you for your question. And first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for your service as a teacher for 40 years. I respect and love what all teachers do across the world. So again, thank you for your service as a teacher. To answer your question, though, I'm going to be like straight up honest. I don't think there's enough of that. I don't think there's enough of that acceptance and understanding. 3 years ago, my answer would be different. Like if I was sitting here 3 years ago, I would say there is way more of it. While there may be some improvements scattered around the country or the world, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. It's become very subtle. I remember, for example, a teacher last year who was interested in having me come speak to their school. They say that they thought it was or it wasn't a teacher, it was the principal there. She felt like it was such an empowering thing and the right time for me to come to speak because get this, she told me by email that there were a lot of kids at her school and her campus saying as a joke to a lot of autistic kids, don't be autistic, don't be dumb. Forgive me for using the R word. They said, don't be retarded. And that really sickened me when I read the email. And I'm like, I have to get over and speak to this school. I have to educate these kids that there needs to be more acceptance and understanding. I don't care if you're, trying to crack a joke or get a laugh in. There's never a time or place for that. So so I think there needs to be way more of that acceptance and understanding. I know the last part of your question, I think, was how can we solve it? I think we solve it by putting more of education curriculum, having more self-advocates like me come and actually do one-on-one courses with the students, talk to students, not just who are autistic, but also neurotypical, and teach the neurotypical kids especially not to say stuff like that and to be overall more accepting and understanding. And overall, I'll talk about this more like over on the side by my table. That's one of like the bigger initiatives with my business aside from just speaking. I'm going to be rolling out curriculum to students to be a self-advocate and be that voice where I can teach kids about more accepting and understanding initiatives towards all neurodiverse kids. So
I was wondering about diagnosis, how that takes place. Who does the diagnosis as somebody being on the spectrum?
yeah, I'm glad you asked. So there's a lot of different diagnosis now. It's changed a lot in 20 years since I got diagnosed because, the definition of how we diagnose autistic people has changed. But to answer your question, the way I got diagnosed was there was an autism researcher and doctor whom I met with, or my parents met at first and they introduced me to him. I can't remember the name of the doctor, and I don't know where specifically it was at, but it was at like an autism clinic where they diagnose people who may have autism. And he made me undergo these tests, which included like how I focus and concentrate, either with headphones or I hear different sounds, how I view or look at certain objects, how I talk about certain things or discuss certain things, just simple basic tests like that. There were a lot of more I can't remember, but those were just like the main ones. So if we focus on those, he brought me through all those tests and those procedures. And then he kind of brought me out of the office after like an hour or two of testing. And he said to my parents that I was officially on the autism spectrum based on me going through those tests and how they were different compared to people who were neurotypical who also took those tests. Yeah, of course.
Are you familiar with any corporations or businesses that are dedicated to matching autistic children's superpowers with a placement in their business?
That's a good question. Depends on what they do. Maybe I am. Is it possible you can name a couple for me? That actually do that. That's very specific. Maybe there are. They probably just don't like call it or refer it to that specifically. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to talk to you later and get back to you on that. I probably do. I just can't think of any at the top of my head, but thanks for the question.
Are there any other questions? Oh, yes. Okay.
Yep.
We'll get you next. I guess my last question would be, what ways would you advise us all to become more open-minded and supportive of the autistic community so that we, become less biased and even kind of be aware of any of the stereotypical things that we've been taught?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing we can do is we have to post more positive content on social media, not just and I'm talking about not just like in general, I'm talking like positive autism and neurodiverse content on social media. When we post a lot of like negative and political content about autism on social media, I think that just spreads kind of a bad vibe and releases bad energy out there that eventually leads to a lot of people getting so riled up about autism and neurodiversity that, again, it leads to worse accepting and understanding. Again, when we know better and are informed better with more positive content, we do better. So that's the first thing we can do. The second thing we can do is utilize more support services for autistic individuals like myself. Even though I don't have as many problems or challenges because of my autism as I used to, they still come up every now and then. And there are a lot of autistic adults that are no different. And with that, we need to, provide more resources to get people who suspect they have autism or are self-diagnosed with autism an official autism diagnosis. That way, they can be educated themselves, and then they pass it down to their friends and family. Their friends and family can be educated with the accurate information, and then so on and so forth. And then again, they're informed better, they do better, the autistic person does better, and we all do better. So thank you for the question. Yeah, I know you had one too.
How did you get to WSU?
How did I get to WSU? That's a good question. To be honest, like my life flashed right before my eyes in the past 5 years. Sometimes I don't know. No. I after I graduated community college, I realized that WSU had a great broadcast news program. And since I have a passion for news, I love talking about local news, and I, still am in a way a journalist by heart, kind of in the background. I decided that WSU was the place. And it was also because, I love Phoenix. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's family and friends are there. Went to high school there, went to community college there, but God, it's so hot there. It is too hot. It's like my dad gets cold easily. That's why he moved there. You throw an ice cube at him, he screams and runs away. No, but all I'm saying is like, living there for like so long, you kind of want to change a pace. So it was both like the broadcast news segment and, wanting to get, into the broadcast news program, and WSU had a strong program for that, and wanting to move somewhere where it snowed because Phoenix, it never snows. So I wanted to move somewhere where it snows and it rains a lot. And I kind of got my mom's blood in me. My mom's from Portland, Maine, where it rains all the time. So I kind of wanted to follow in her footsteps and move somewhere colder. Thank you.
The University of Houston graduate in me salutes the getting out of the heat argument there. If there are no more questions, then I want to thank our speaker and welcome you all, and then wish you come back next week as well. We have Adam Wolfer coming, so please join us again next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.